two tonight that I plan on talking about are B.F. Skinner and Jean Piaget. B.F. Skinner, also known as Burris Frederick Skinner, born on March 20th, 1904, in Susquehanna, Pennsylvania. He's the oldest of two sons. Susquehanna was a small coal mining town located close to New York. His father was a successful attorney. His mother was a primary at-home caretaker. Skinner, again, he enjoyed tinkering with things when he was young. He had these various inventions, such as a cart with a steering wheel, a perpetual motion machine, which surprisingly didn't work, and other job-related processes as a kid, clubhouses and different job efficiency type processes, basically system design type work. During his education, he was largely unfocused during his adolescent years, kind of floundering around a bit in school, and really found kind of a passion in research. And this came after an incident when he had a debate with an instructor in school one year. This led him to receive a Bachelor of Arts in English Literature from Hamilton College in 1926. And then after his bachelor's degree, he went through what he called the dark year. And this is where he spent very little time writing and most of his time building model ships. Most of us would call that a depression, I suppose. Needless to say, once he finished his dark year, he went on to receive his doctorate in psychology from Harvard in 1931. And he continued his research until 1936. At that time, he became a tenured professor at Harvard, again in 1948. But it was at this time in Harvard where he began his profound work with William Crozier. So during his lengthy, successful career, these are some of his major works and publications. You can see his #1 publication was The Behavior of Organisms, an experimental analysis that occurred in 1938, followed by Walden II, 1948, and you can see the continuation of some of his works he had available here. Following here upon further reflection in 1987, numerous articles of scholastic publishings. This list is not complete, but just basically a hit list along the timeline. Now, this was the culmination of B.F. Skinner's experimentation. This is what we call the Skinner box, or what became affectionately known as the Skinner box. One example for the use of this is you can see we have a rat in a cage. The bottom is set up for a shock type generator where electricity can be applied. This is on top of an electrical grid. We have a food cup with a pellet dispenser and a dispensing tube, as well as some different environmental stimuli, such as a speaker, signal lights, and then a physical lever to try to train the response of the rat. So one example of this would be to test how long it takes for the rat to press the bar to release food, given a certain external stimuli. For instance, let's say he wanted the rat to only push the lever after 3 tones were generated from the speaker. 2 tones, and if the rat pushed the button, then perhaps no food would come out, or perhaps he would receive an electric shock, such as negative reinforcement. However, if you press the bar 3 times, food would be dispensed, and, if the speaker ran 3 times and he pressed the bar, the food would be dispensed, and then, of course, he would receive a treat. This, of course, is a type and a very excellent use of behavioral modification, which is where Skinner was working his experiments to. Behavior is defined by the causes of an action and its consequences. And this was based on Thorndike's law of effect, which had a great influence on B.F. Skinner and his Skinner box experiment. It introduced reinforcement. Behavior that is reinforced will be strengthened, is what he discovered. Behavior that is not reinforced will be weakened. This led B.F. Skinner to his operant conditioning theory. It is defined as the modification of behavior through the use of reinforcement after a desired response. And there are 3 types of operants. We have neutral. These are operants, are environmental responses that neither increase or decrease the likelihood of repeat behavior. We have reinforcers, which increase the probability of repeated behavior, as well as punishers, which decrease the likelihood of repeated behavior. Because remember, punishment weakens. And This is what he was showing with his operant conditioning. Other considerations we were looking at here. Behavior modification, which is merely behavior shaping. It's a successive approximation approach to moving someone along a progressive timeline with reinforcement. And then there's the concept of token economy. And these are behaviors are reinforced with tokens and exchanged for rewards. Next, I would like to talk about Jean Piaget. Born August 9th in 1896, he grew up in Neuchâtel, Switzerland. He was the oldest of 3 boys, and interestingly described as having neurotic tendencies by his mother. He's fascinated with biology at an early age, and interestingly, he was first published at the age of 11, completely unknown to his colleagues. His education. Early on, he received kind of a part-time job, if you will, assisting the director of the Natural History Museum, again at the age of 11. This is when he was published, and again, his article was concerning albino swallows. His colleagues had no idea he was 11 years old at the time. Shortly thereafter, he became a regular contributor to the Swiss Review of Zoology. This was again at the age of 15, and again, colleagues unaware that Piaget was as young as he was. Finally, he received his doctorate from the University of Neuchâtel in Natural Sciences in 1918. Piaget's influences largely came from Carl Jung and Paul Bleuler, inspired his passion for psychoanalysis. His continued work with Theodore Simon and Sir Cyril Burt in 1919 led Piaget to formulate his 4-stage cognitive development theory. Theodore Simon and Piaget worked together to help standardize tests that were given to children. These tests were administered by Sir Cyril Burt and Alfred Bein at the Institute in Paris. Standardized reasoning tests were given to children to measure their intelligence. Burt was trying to relate a child's age to the nature of the incorrect answer. Piaget was able to question the children and discovered that it wasn't their intelligence that determined their answer, but their experience. Piaget's cognitive theory has 3 components to it. The first one are schemas. And schemas are scripts, or basically responses to external influences that we can relate back to. It's where we will take an experience, we will relate a response to that as we're younger, and when that experience comes up again, we can recall that response and know how to react to that stimuli. There is also what he referred to as the adaptation processes. Now, the adaptation process is the basis for intellectual growth, according to Piaget, and it happens through assimilation, which is applying a learned schema to a new environment, or through accommodation, which is an existing schema. It doesn't fit the existing situation, and a new one has to be written. And then finally, we have equilibrium, and this is the force that moves development along. This occurs as when current schemas are adapting to current stimuli and new information can be more easily assimilated. So, the 4 stages of development. The first stage, we have the sensory motor. This occurs from ages 0 to 2 years approximately. It's concerned with object permanence, and examples include blowing bubbles, sucking motion, grasping, crying for needs, basically your general baby development type activities. Once the child has passed stage 1, they move into stage 2, which is the pre-operational intelligence. Occurs from around ages 2 to 7. Again, those are approximations. They have the ability to grasp understanding is limited to their life experience. This is where imagination begins. And they're limited by communication and experience. And it is only once they are able to cover these bullets are they able to move past stage 2 and onto stage 3, concrete operational. Roughly starts around age 7. Again, that's an approximation, but notice there's not necessarily an end date, because that's an unknown date. There is really not an end timeline to when they move past the concrete operational. I'll finish with that in a minute. Some never progress. This is the ability to compare and contrast, learn to analyze and evaluate, Things are not always what they appear to be. This is the point when you learn that in your life. Now, only once the child or the young adult at this point can move past this stage do they reach the fourth and final stage, known as formal operational. Occurs only after making it through the third stage. Some people never make it to this stage. This defines us as rational, reasoning adults. This is the highest level of analytical thinking and hypothesis generation. And again, some children, young adults, never make it to this stage, according to Piaget. In summary, both gentlemen have progressed developmental theory and helped to improve teaching and learning styles. Each had their own way of learning about behavior, and neither theory is incorrect. Both theories can be used in teaching and learning environments given the right circumstances. And this shows that following your passion can lead to great discoveries. I hope you've enjoyed my presentation. I thank you very much.